our conversations shift a little bit, but we're staying within kind of, the same area, whereby literally in the area, the Member of Parliament for Kipipiri constituency is Wanjiku Muhia, and she's here with us this morning. Good morning, Mheshimiwa.
Thank you. Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's your first time in the hot seat of the Situation Room?
Yes.
Imagine.
But I do follow you.
Oh, fantastic.
I do watch you, and I think you're doing good job.
Thank you.
You're normally very detailed and precisely corresponding to the nation day-to-day activities in matters of politics, economics. Generally, I think you are in line with the current situation, as per your name, situation.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for coming, and then also honoring our invitation to have this conversation today. Your name came up several times last week and the week before, and in terms of what you did, so you're going to give us a little bit of that leakage this morning. But before we do that, you may know that Dennis goes around the African continent every week, comes back from a particular country with their proverbs. We'd love to hear from you today.
Today we are in a country that if you call it vanilla land, you would not be wrong. Why? Because they are the biggest manufacturers and exporters of vanilla. Also, when you talk about the animals, so that with their wildlife, 90% of the animals can only be found in that country. There is one called King Julian. So for you to see the actual King Julian, not the movie type, you just go to Madagascar. Today we're in Madagascar. The people of Madagascar are called the Malagasy. But let's go to the proverb. Do not laugh at the fallen. You may find slippery roads ahead. Do not laugh at the fallen. You may find slippery roads ahead. How would you interpret it?
Precisely so. I think because I'm a politician, I would like to refer it to the current political situation. In the recent time, particularly during Bere North by-election, the UDA team was laughing and thinking they are very strong, and they have found not only a slippery road, but very slippery, and they're down.
Well, just brought it back home. Asante sana. Let's see how we continue the conversation.
Indeed. And even as we do, this is, again, I mentioned that your name came up quite a number of times. And even as we look at this conversation where we're saying, okay, so how exactly did this happen? There were 9 contenders for this by-election, for this parliamentary seat. It would appear as though 2 of them were at the front run, at the front line. And we can say this from what we saw, but we can also say this from the results that IEBC then gave at the end of the day. So then with that, do we ask the question of whether DCP won this or whether UDA lost this, or are both happening in that same space?
Allow me first to take this chance and say a big thank you to the people of Kalau for having conducted the election very peacefully, in spite of many things that we'll be discussing in this show, and them being able to not only vote, but also to guard their votes, and also showing the determination and the resilience that has not been seen in this country in the recent past, say maybe in 1995, back in the same constituency, which was Kipipiri then. And having said that, I wouldn't say there were 2 contestants. I would say it was a one aspirant affair, because honestly speaking, if the votes casted were that 5,000 and the UDA candidate got 5,000, that is 6 times. He was beaten 6 times. And I think by mere luck, or people in Orkarawa cried, they thought, okay, this is our son, this is our neighbor. He worked for us with the Mheshimiwa for 13 years, and they thought the 5,000 was worth, which to me was surprising. I expected maybe 3,000 or less, because looking back at their nomination, the guy had scored 1,116. The UD only did some mathematics here and there and declared him to have gotten 3,000 votes. So I think we may not say a 2-horse race. We may say a 1-horse and maybe a baby horse, if for that matter there is. But generally, we could say DCP had that big victory.
I mean, when you look at because election is a process, and the process of elections then starts from the nomination period all the way to the campaign period, to when then Kenyans go to cast their vote. And with that, then one asks the question, with what it is we saw, was the election free, fair, verifiable, as expected, because it is a process?
As you said, it's a process. Of course, the previous judge, or the retired judge, Honorable Maraga, did say it's a process. So if at one point there malpractice, then it can be faulted. But in this case of Olkalau, the election was free, was fair, was verifiable in the room. But outside the room, it was chaos because it is in public domain. You saw the goons come. First, each polling station is normally given like 2 policemen, depending on the size, or 3 or 4. And these policemen were at work from 5 as it was expected. But later in the day, goons were coming in numbers of 5, 10, harassing people, shooting. So for this particular part of what was happening outside, I would say it wasn't okay. But inside the room, it was okay.
Let's look at the area where Olkalau is. Kipipiri, your constituency, or rather the constituents that you represent. Looking on the other side, I mean, Kipipiri borders Olkalau.
Yes.
Gilgil also, not too far away. Also, they're looking at Kinangop. In that area, those 4.
It also borders Daragwa.
On the other side, right? All within Nyandarua County. The issues that people face in terms of development seem to be, similar across board, whereby development is still an issue. However, it would appear, especially coming from your county, Kipipiri, that people make decisions with a mindset of how they want a change. Has that always been the case? And do we see that playing out? Or this is just a recent phenomenon?
I think this is a county that have had its fair share of marginalization. And somehow people have lived with these marginalizations. The government come in, the government come out, and they remain the same. And considering the larger population outside Nyandarua County, let's say the whole country, the whole population is suffering in terms of healthcare, in terms of unemployment, in terms of education. If you go to our schools, the capitation is not coming. The university students are suffering day in, day out. On the other side, the government is busy doing the affordable housing, while the same affordable housing could even have been built near the universities to support the students in matters of shelter, instead of the students struggling from their pocket and even hiring apartments which they cannot even afford. And so generally the whole population in the country is very, very annoyed with this regime. And even you could hear people calling from as far as Mombasa, even outside the country, even in USA, UK, even Uganda, within East Africa, and urging the people of Olkalau to showcase that come 2027, this government can lose an election. So generally, in terms of development, yes, Nyandarua has remained behind, particularly in road infrastructure. And that's why you saw the government work 24 hours trying to make roads from here to there. Yet I'm in parliament, I had not seen that budget. So where did the budget come overnight to bring the 5 million boats? Where did the budget come from to bring the 20,000 gas cylinders? Where did the budget come from to bring the mattresses, the blanket, the shoes, and all that kind of manner? So in summary, the people of Olkalau felt like the government is abusing our intelligence.
And did this come from the people?
It came
or
from
was
the
it a
people.
political vendetta by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua to pull people from the mountain, essentially, and say, fight for me on this? Or was it really the years and years of neglect that people said, now we have an opportunity to speak about something and we're not going to let it go? Which one was it?
My dear, is a bigger scenario than the way you can see. If you would put it from the country point of view, the whole country is annoyed with this regime for economic sabotage by the government itself, and all manner of the suffering that the Kenyans are facing today. And so the whole country was also urging the people of Orkalau, come to Orkalau, because the Orkalau is not a separate population from the population in Nairobi. They have cousins, they have relatives in Gekomba, in Githurai, and all other places where the government has been demolishing. Remember, this is a local or a rural population which their sons and daughters are in Nairobi, in Nakuru, all over, and they are not able even to send a shilling back home to buy their parents' medicine or pay their school fees, unlike maybe some few years before. So the current situation in the country is the same, and Orkalau cannot be unique. So whatever the population in Mombasa is feeling, Nairobi, Kitui, or elsewhere, is the same feeling of Orkalau people. And so the people of Orkalau are determined to say to this government, we cannot add you one more soldier to continue adding taxes, one more soldier to continue not opposing the Ebola center in Laikipia, yet Laikipia is a neighboring county, and even the Minister for Health has gone ahead and said even the places that have NYS centers, there will also be built such quarantine facilities. In Tumaini, just right 5 kilometers from Orkalau town, we have an NYS Ebola center. So that means if we elect a government UDA MP, it's to add voice to allow a quarantine Ebola center to come to Orkalau. Yeah. That said and done, the Gen Z revolution, so to speak, has continued to speak louder, even if it is not happening physically. That talk have continued because people lost their sons and daughters. Nothing has ever happened. As if that is not enough, because everything has a turning point. The government has never gone to that turning point and acted differently. Instead, the government has continued to kill, to fight, to criminalize people. You go to the church, people are attacked. You go to the, mainly, particularly the churches, you are attacked. So you find the population from the church is annoyed with this government. Literally, the anger in Orkalau is similar to what is in the country. But that said and done, we also have our sons and daughters. We have Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, our retired president, whom we honor. Though we differed in 2022, the government insiders, the Sudis, the Murkomens, I am sure they're in public domain. They wake up every day saying, Uhuru this, Uhuru that, Uhuru this, Uhuru that. Having elected this government with nearly 47%, they impeached the deputy president, and as if that is not enough, they have woken up every day saying, this man is tribal. So the people said, okay, he's ours and we are tribal. Let's show you that we are tribal.
That's the decision that they took.
They are among the many reasons. They are among the many. First, why is the government bringing 100 developments 2 to 3 weeks during election time? Why is the government abusing our sons? It's also politically speaking right for the people of the mountain to feel that these are our sons, they are leaders in this part of our country, and they also deserve respect. Three, why is the government sabotaging its own economy? If it is the issue of Gunism, I think this is the first president who is bringing a very bad culture that will put this country to the Somalis, to the Congos, and the countries that have been in war forever, and they have never recovered. I have just found you speak of East Africa. Remember, I served in Yala for the last, the 12th Parliament, the 4th Yala in East Africa. We have seen these nations, Congo, DRC Congo, Somali, South Sudan, who are now partner states of East Africa, suffer and unable to return to normalcy, courtesy of political miscalculation from their leadership. And that is where William Ruto is taking this country today. Because if the government cannot protect its people, then the people have no other option than to protect themselves. For instance, the goons in Orkalau were coming, the videos were there, the media people were there, everyone was showing that these are the goons, the police were there. The police looked helpless because these are the police from the mainstream. Then there are other police with the guns who are even shooting like movies on top of the vehicles, and the police were helpless. So what did Olkalau people do? They decided, because the election was done by midday, and we had already taken the images from the Kim's kit, and we had seen the percentage, and no other person was coming to vote. We were only waiting to close at 5 as per the law. So we decided to call all the polling centers to close at 3. They barricade the road. They surround the polling center with the stones, with the trees, and at exactly 5 they buy padlocks. They lock the rooms so that they count the votes inside while they are locked. Why were Wananchi doing this? Yet there is enough budget for IEBC. Yet IEBC were allocated policemen and women to guard the voters and the IEBC officials. This took the Wananchi to secure themselves. So if we go that direction, we will soon be in Haiti.
Mheshimiwa, I want to ask the question, with the decisions then that the people of Olkalau took to secure the vote, opening padlocks, barricading the roads, and being there to protect essentially the vote, what does that communicate to the trust that Kenyans across the country have towards IEBC's regards to deliver an election? What does that say about IEBC's performance in delivering an election?
From where I sit, the Kenyans will also have very little trust with IEBC. However, each case has to be defined as per situation. Just like I said, the election was free and fair, verifiable inside the room, but the surrounding environment was toxic. I would also say the managers of IEBC, these are the young men and women who help the management of the process, the POs, the managers of IEBC, may not be infiltrated by the government, by the commissioners themselves.
Are you saying that in Olkalau there was fear that the election process would be interfered with by external parties? The reason why you moved, individuals moved to lock rooms and ensure that everything that is inside remains inside, nothing else comes from outside?
Of course, that was the plan. And we knew these plans from around 11 because they had targeted the big 10 polling stations, particularly the AC primary, which is in Olkalau town. It was attacked. We had groups WhatsApp because we had assigned ourselves to certain polling stations, and we could see Mobi primary has been attacked, Munyeki primary has been attacked. We could see people in the farm hiding and all that. We could see AC primary has been attacked. So we knew they were coming. Even where I was at Mirangini sub-county, a school is very near where I was operating from, called Nyandudo. We could see, I'm sure you also saw the police shooting and all that kind of manner, taking our observers in spite of the observer having the LSK badges. So we knew that this was a plan, that at 5 they would come, they bring fear, they shoot, they come with the ballot, stuffed and marked papers. They take away the ones that people had voted. They leave the ones they have brought, and they somehow try to force the situation. But I could say that was a very, very, I would just laugh at that kind of theory. I think that is a theory from someone like Oscar Sudi, because clearly it can't happen. You have 9 candidates, so you have 9 agents in the room. You have a PO from IEBC. You have observers from LSK, Human Rights and all that. The minimum you have number of people there is 15 to 20 people. So how can you think that 20 people, you just close their eyes, you come and bring your ballot box, put it inside, remove another one? It's so theoretical. It's just like a movie. I think it's not practical.
Let's take a break in a short while. But a question before we do that. And that, so with all of this, I mean, the political intrigues around all of this, but has the voice of the people of Olkalau, the voices of the people of Nyandara County, whereas, according to you, have for the longest time been marginalized, the poverty index is still very, very high, and that it's underdeveloped. There were questions about then who does that, and that's the member of parliament. How far have those discussions ever gone, and what have you been told? Because you sit in parliament, you legislate, you approve budgets. Who then says this is what we need? And who answers you, if anyone?
I proceed?
Yes, please.
Oh, I thought you said you go for... Okay. Very well. In fact, when you are campaigning, you saw several MPs come to or come out to campaign for UDA candidate. And I think I was the only one with the senator, my Senator Medho. Of course, others who are aligned to Wamunyoro movement joined us maybe during the weekend and at the tail end, but daily or day-to-day activities were free under our control. I think Kipipiri has done very well, and this was one of the areas where you were able to beat the UDA campaign, because we could use Kipipiri as a scenario to compare, and we could ask the people for Krau, do you want an MP who is guided by MPs whose school fees is 10,000-15,000, or an MP where school fees is 500 shillings? For instance, in Kipipiri, our school fees is 500 shillings. And we have been feeding our children from morning, that is 10 o'clock uji, and lunchtime, while all these other MPs who have been coming there are not doing the same. So I sit in parliament here. Yes, we do approve budget, yes, but you remember this parliament is captured. And you know, we are normally 10 or 12 MPs who are currently in opposition, who can do very little, but to have a voice is also very critical. So even for Kalau to vote for an MP who will have a voice for them is also very critical. Because even if you are 10 today and you're 11 tomorrow, you are 12 the other day, you continue increasing the voice. For instance, we condemned Ebola center in Laikipia. Even if it will happen, but our voice will remain there in record that we had opposed this. So for all Kalau people to get someone who can have a voice for them, I think that is already a plus. In Kipipiri, we have been doing very well. In fact, I think just a few months I was awarded among the most performing member of parliament in terms of education, infrastructure. Our schools are like academies. If you go to Kipipiri, you will not differentiate if a primary school is Westland Primary or Wajohi Primary or Mara Primary. I know many people have been covering Didi Nyoro, but we have also used his programs. We did copy-paste, exchanged programs, and we've been doing similarly the same. So fundamentally, our Kalau people need someone who can also have a voice for them. And not just a voice to say yes, sir, but a voice that will speak what the people for Kalau want.
Now, everybody said before this election, this by-election, interestingly enough, that this person who comes into position is only going to be there for give or take a year, right? But that it speaks beyond this 1 year that Ngova will be a member of parliament. But that it is giving a deeper message about then what's going to happen in 2027. So the by-election was said to be a litmus test as per where the mountain sits. And if this area, which has long time been a voice in terms of mountain politics, is speaking, then that could be the same speech that will then be replicated in 2027. Is that the case?
First, let me say that NGCDF money is budgeted annually, and we are currently doing the public participation. So he'll pick from where Mheshimiwa left, and he'll also be handling this financial year. So he'll be able to do 1 or 2, 3 things. And I think the people for Kalau we also expect such because of the time. But I think this election was beyond the mountain. Looking at how the messages were coming, how people are putting pressure beyond, outside the mountain. It was not only a mountain contest. This was a contest between the current regime and the 2027. And why I say that is because I told you in the beginning, there is a general anger with the whole population because of the obvious things. And now I think even the anger is increasing day in, day out. And very fundamental issues that have been made people very angry, like maybe healthcare and such, are now coming to take the second or the third number in terms of levels. I think this issue of Gunism is really tricky for this government. And if it will not be able to contain or control it, I think this government may lose the 2027 in a historic way. You cannot have a country which have been safe, which have been peaceful, which has been the hub of peace within the region, which has been used as a benchmark, which is hosting many institutions which are international, including the UN, name them. And then one day you wake up and you think, I have to fight with guns and goons to maintain power. So this is a clear indication that 2027 politics have begun. And there are several lessons for Kenyans to learn in Olkalau. And the main fundamental lesson is that it is now crystal clear that the government is normally overrated. The way people think that you cannot fight the system, the government, it is purely overrated. Because the government is me and you. So it will only matter if the side of government have Sudi and the side of opposition has Senator Medhu and Wanjiku. If the government have the people who are planning for goons, and if the other side have people who are speaking the language the public can hear. So 2027 have begun. This is one election that is shaping the 2027, and it all backs back to history. When we had a by-election in Kagema, the TNA won that seat, and the TNA came to rule this country. When we had a by-election in Kiamba and in Olkalau, for this matter, which is also very symbolic, in Rurie Ward, the UDA won, and the UDA came to be the government of the day. So similarly, this by-election, going by history, is obviously informing us on 2027. But most importantly is to tell Kenyans they should no longer fear the government. They should be able to vote and linda kura yao.
I mean, when you look at elections, each and every single person must play by the rules, especially the electoral code. And there's a lot of issues that were raised, including statements that you made during the campaigns that saw IEBC make a declaration and find you 1.5 million shillings. And whilst we say election, there is the political aspect of it, but it is backed by the law because it is a legal process that then gives one the right to be donated to power and lead the people. What was that about? What exactly happened that you found yourself at the receiving end of IEBC being fined 1.5 million shillings? What was that about?
That's why I say the IEBC is very biased, because the bribery is happening on open pages. We can see the ministers bribing people through this, they say, the developments which are delivered in Olkalau during this particular time. But when I speak for 6 minutes, the IEBC will take the 30 seconds statement, which is clearly sideshows. The main content of my statement was that outsiders should not come and vote in Olkalau, because that was said by Moses Kuria. In fact, he said on 16th, I will come here in Olkalau with 200 people. That one, the IEBC doesn't hear, but they hear me say, don't come to vote in Olkalau. But since that matter is in court, I wouldn't want to highlight it, but there is something to learn about that. When I was fined 1.5 million, what did the people of Olkalau say? What Wanjiku said is what we mean. We don't want outsiders to come and vote here. And she is speaking on our behalf. For that matter, she will not pay 1.5, give us a pay bill number, and we shall contribute. And indeed, they contributed the money. In fact, some of the money that we used to pay the agents was the money that was contributed so that I could pay the IEBC. But when we went to the court postponed that until I be heard, because of course you can see the bias. The IEBC could not even listen to me. They could not even listen to my lawyers. They were so much determined, so much in a hurry, because they just wanted to remove me out of Olkalau. They knew we are two, and they knew I was in charge of several operations, and my absence in Orkalau was obviously a point they were relying on. You can see what they are relying on is purely theory. They are thinking that if Wanjiku is not in Orkalau, they may win this election, which is far from truth. The people are already determined. But basically, I would say IEBC is very, very biased. They shouldn't be, because the word independent means they should be independent. They were acting on behalf of someone, and that is why they were so much in a hurry, so agitated. They couldn't listen to me. They couldn't even offer me a chance. And even before they came to find me, I was first put through the DCI. Then the DCI could say, oh, no charges. In the whole county, in my book, there are no charges against you. The NCIC, then, the NCIC say we have analyzed the video. It is not having any issue. Then the IEBC, we go and face them and ask, do you have any case against me? They say no. In fact, we are happy about the way you are conducting politics. Then 45 minutes after, the IEBC issue new summons. So clearly you could see it's just a manipulation, politically castigated, but since the matter is in court, I may not want to endeavor so much about it, but nothing could stop the resilience and the vote of the people of Orkalau. A good lesson to the Kenyans that a people determined can remove a government which is oppressing them.
Beyond the election, there is the delivery, because every other member of parliament or anyone who's seeking for elected position comes with promises and deliverables that they tell the people to convince them to give them the vote. Now, even as we speak today, the citizens, even your constituents, will ask the question, based off what you promised vis-a-vis the delivery, is where matters the most. Now we have Samuel is going to be sworn in as the Member of Parliament for Orkalau. There are promises he made. How do we ensure that as members of Parliament, where you sit in terms of representation, oversight, the three roles that you have, that these things are being seen to work, that Mwananchi does not only become important during elections, but that it's carried forward beyond the election day?
That the people have shown. The people of Orkalau have shown, because the voter today is so wise, is wiser than even the voter of 2022. And they have shown that it is not about the money, it is not about the promise. If you promise, you deliver. If you don't deliver, they will deal with you. It's as simple as that. And if you look at the recent past, you see several politicians even sent out of the funerals. People don't want to listen to them. For instance, one of our area MCA in Orkalau, in Rorie Ward, where one of the gentlemen was killed. Remember, we lost 2 young men whose mistake was only to go and vote. Then they found the goons. They didn't know they were goons because one was a truck driver and he had left his truck at Gilgil. He ran to vote. In fact, he paid someone on the queue to let him jump the queue so that he vote and go pick his truck and move on to Arusha. I think he was coming from Marava. And then at the gate, he fight the goons and he died like that. So the Wananchi will be dealing with people. It is not going to be a matter of how much I speak, how much money I give, how much I lie, how much I promise. The deliverable must be seen, the development must be tangible, and it will no longer be politicized. This MC I tell you about was already overheard and recorded, him organizing 50 men who would be paid during the election day. And that clip was kept, circulated in Orkalau. Then one man dies, then he drive to the family to bring Pole. I'm telling you, he couldn't even drive near the gate. He was told by the locals, not even the family of the bereaved, he was told by the locals, just turn your car. We are not fighting you. We are not touching your car. But just go back. We don't want to see you here. Yes, you are our area MCA. You have come to say Pole because someone has died. But he has died in the hands of government. We know each other. No one killed each other. We were going 10 by 10, a group of 10, as we had given that in my clip, that design. Because when you go 10 first, it's not easy to attack you. Second, it's easy to know a stranger. And this MCA was told, just go back. We cannot even receive your pole. Just drive back. We don't want to see you. So I think it's no longer going to be the same way. Yeah.
What is driving this? Is it because Kenyans are tired? And Kenyans are saying, well, don't continue treating us this way. And if that's what's driving it, is it going to be driven into 2027 where the nation then has to decide? So what is making people react in this way? Have they gotten to the point whereby they say enough is enough? And is that same energy that's going to push people into 2027 from what you can see?
I think just as Mau Mau time when the British colony was ruling this country, of course, they ruled for some time, and Mau Mau uprising moved from one level to another until they reached a point where they said, no, we need our land, and the white men have to leave our country. So the same government came in with many promises, which were, I think, politically informed, because some of the promises which were given have even never happened. The government continued even to promise others which were merely rhetoric, because how does a president say we'll be making 1 million chapatis per day, honestly? And I think the Wananchi kept on feeling that these people are abusing our intelligence and we feel like we are wiser. So the people have continued to be agitated day in, day out, not forgetting the suffering because of the economic status in the country. So this is someone who is very angry, but at the same time, very informed. Also remember, we are in the era of digital information. So information sharing is moving like a bushfire. Within a minute, a school could be attacked in Orokalau, and in seconds, we could be informed from the other side of Orokalau, let's say in Merangini. So the people are very, very much informed, number one. Number two, the voters are very wise today. Like this issue of saying that we will remain in the government side, because if you support the president, you'll have maendeleo. I really feel irritated about that statement. In fact, there is a time, if you saw, I went viral when I told one of my colleagues, do not be telling people we'll be milking the one in the milk parlor. Because clearly, these are your taxes. If you have put a budget for Road A, whether you support the president, whether you don't support him, it must happen. For MPs, then GCDF is given to all MPs from Mombasa to Kisumu. It doesn't matter if you support the government or otherwise. So it is upon me as a member.
Matter.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't. It's upon me as a member of parliament to do public participation and give priority what the public want. So first, there is nothing irritating to Kenyans than this statement that you stay by the government so that you get development.
Mheshimiwa, in your opinion, where do you think that the government that was elected by a majority of Kenyans lost Kenyans? At what point did Kenyans say enough is enough, we're done? At what point did the government lose the people that voted for him? And what would be the reasons as to why Kenyans now are saying, we need to look the other way around? Why would the people of Orokalau say, we are out?
In my view, I would say this government had no good intention. And I think the promises were intentional just to garner the votes for 2022. And possibly the current president mistook the capacity of Kenyans. Maybe he thought the Kenyans that were there many years back are still the same population. I do not see any good intention, because even as a member for Kipipiri, if elections were to be called today, there are several things that I can show that I have connected 30,000 people with electricity. I can show 15 big schools have been facelifted to academies, and maybe 40 medium schools have been facelifted to this. There is something I can show that my school fees was 15,000 Kenya shillings and today is 500 shillings. I can show that our students were not eating at school and today 7,000 students are eating at school, and I can say many things. If I look at this government, the many things we can see is the opposite and not finding a single thing. For instance, in Nyandarua, we had many roads which had started. We had one road which started in Orkalau called Captain, Wanjohi, Geta, Donyujeru Road. It crisscrossed 3 constituencies. It was done 50%, that is 25 kilometers. The president came there immediately during the prayers, the Thanksgiving prayers that he was going round. He said, this road, by October, it will be finished. And the people believed because it was already at 50%. And he said, on February, I'll come and launch. That is the only time I found William Ruto speaking the truth. Because indeed, in February, he came and launched the same road. And he promised that in 10 months, the road would be finished. In fact, there was a proposal that some work can start in Kinangop and some work can start in Kipipiri. They meet at the middle, 13 kilometers for 10 months. That looked realistic. But to date, the road has only been done 4 kilometers. So 4 kilometers, 4 years means 1 kilometer per year. And now the government is telling us that Rironi Mau Summit Road will be finished by, I think, is it Madaraka Day or what, next year, and it is 170 kilometers. For this government, obviously, it will need 170 years if we go by Kipipiri, Kinangop Road. So clearly, what is tangible that this government has done? That is really agitating. But there are several tangible messes that this government has done. For instance, the introduction of SHA. While SHA may have been a good option, but you can see the intention was never good. The system of SHA time and again is failing to serve the people, but when it is debiting your account, it's not failing. It's very easy for you to credit money to SHA, whether cash or by salary deduction. But when you go to the hospital, you want treatment. Sometimes you have this, while NHIF was 500 bob. And somehow it was working even for people like teachers, the police force, and such. So this government has tangible messes in numbers, including lies, including the introduction of this goonism culture, which I tell President Ruto, this is what will finish him. He must turn around and tell Murkomen no. I see Murkomen today saying that this will be investigated. Obviously, that is also laughing to the people for Kalau. How can you investigate something that you saw? You saw goons, 5 goons going to Nyadudo, 4 land cruisers coming to AC Primary. Why were they not stopped? Did the government not see these goons, which me and you could see? They were even going against the media people. For heaven's sake, if today we do not have the media, what a country. Who will inform us? Because I may try to take a video, my phone may be taken away and all that, but the whole country or the whole nation is purely relying on media. They could even harm the media, take their cameras, throw them away. So if the government saw that, they saw the 5, if they could have arrested at least 1 goon, just one, and assuming the rest ran away, then at least we could even buy the lie that something will be investigated. So you need as a leader to have one tangible development or activity, but this government has 100 tangible messes which will take it home in 2027. And I urge Kenyans to see what the people of our crowd did, including women, including youths, by protecting their votes, and they protected within the law. Because the IEBC normally discuss 400 meters away, so we barricaded 400 meters away, but we all agreed no one will go to the police center. We will not go.
But nobody else will go.
In fact, my own vehicle, which was supplying lunch in Miragini sub-county, and my driver for that ward was known because he moved with me the whole time. And the lady from that polling center, which they were going to supply food, could not enter. My own car was searched, a small car. They saw there were breads, there were milk, there were water. And the people said, okay, we agreed, we are not entering. The government is not entering. UDA is not entering. Wamudende was here. We have stopped you. So you will not enter. Take your breads, walk, take to your agents, come, you will not touch your vehicle. My own vehicle. That is how how serious this was. And this is what the other Kenyans should do. They shouldn't fear the government. The government is purely overrated, and people can be able, so long as they work within the law, I am sure they can be able to take this government home. And it also be a good lesson that a government came, lied to the people, went back after one term. So the next president will be 100 times careful, cautious of anything he promised and anything he deliver. So it should be a lesson for future.
It should be a lesson for you. Do you expect that the development that was, just really quickly, the development that was brought into Olkalao, do you think that it will continue now in the coming weeks?
It will not continue. That we even told our people. In 1995, the same government, the same style of government brought the poles for electricity, and they removed the same. In fact, history is repeating itself so symbolically. I saw one time when the DCI and all those other people were coming to look for me, and somehow I was hiding somewhere, and you could see the people of Olkalao hide me. They say, Mheshimiwa, come, you sleep in my house today, and when I'm known I'm in that house, tomorrow I sleep in another house. You can see people even defending you so long as you are working with them in their cause.
Yeah. Indeed. And thank you for being here for this conversation this morning.
Thank you too.
And we look forward to more, to then be able to open up some of these things. Wanjiku Muhia is the Member of Parliament for Kipipiri constituency, has been our guest this hour, looking into some of these intrigues. More to come. Asante sana.
Thank you. It's finished.
It is.
It's short, eh?
Okay. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.